Ask the Mayor, your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town of Weymouth and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, here's Bob Hedlund.
And we're back. Welcome to the 2017 edition, summertime edition of Ask the Mayor. I'm your Citizen Inquisitor, Jim Melody, working as always at the same table with Mayor Robert Hedlund. How are you today, Bob?
Good, Jim.
Outstanding. We're excited that everyone could take the time to tune in. We've been getting, between the two of us, we were talking about all the anecdotal evidence. We're being stopped on the streets. We're getting rave reviews. We're thrilled. We got a lot of momentum. And on that theme of positivity, there's a healthy percentage of these questions that are very complimentary towards you and your achievements to date. So let's get right into them, if you don't mind.
And we're going to try to set a record today for most questions answered on a segment.
The lightning round, if you will. Well, let's get right into it.
By the way, we should note for our viewers that we are taping this with our first studio audience.
It's true.
In the history of the show, we have visitors in the mayor's office.
Hundreds of thousands of people crammed in.
If you guys don't like an answer, feel free to boo. If you like an answer and you want to applaud, you're welcome to applaud. You know, just like you were on Oprah or something.
And you may get a prize. I love Oprah.
Well, the Charlie Rose show, might be that level of boring today. I don't know. We'll see.
I like the range of demographics. We could have a potential candidate to replace you 25, 30 years down the line over there. What do you think?
Yep.
An
All right, let's do it.
Man. Here we go.
Let's do it, Jim.
Well, listen, we've got a new contender for a frequent inquisitor to match my abilities here. Ed Hartnett, thanks for all your questions over the last couple of months. And Ed starts us off with a great one. Hey, hello, Mayor Hedlund. Before I ask my question, I want to say what a great job you're doing for the town of Weymouth.
Thanks, Ed.
I have never seen so many projects going on all at once. My question or statement is as follows. Why do the towns and cities not have control on where they put their traffic signals? Is that a federal or state decision? I do know, however, that you get some money from the group that controls Union Point. How does that work? I know, for example, that Libby Industrial Park is getting new traffic lights now as I speak. And you said next year that they will be doing the other side on Libby Industrial. I know there's some work being done there right now. Thank you for all your time. Keep up the good work. Ed Hartnett. Thank you, Ed. Mayor.
Great question. So it's actually a combination of state and town. A good example of a town signalization project would be Green Street and Green and East. That is something we are funding, and those signals are in dire need of replacing. They look okay, but they have some problems because of the age, and we're constantly fixing them. We appropriated money last year. That's taking a little longer than we had hoped. That is a good example of a town signalized intersection. Now, obviously, we have a number of state highways that go through town. We have Route 53, a state road, Route 3A, a state road, and Route 18. So we have some signalization projects going on there that are state funded, but we obviously interact, and our planning department and traffic department work with the state on those. And there's a number of those projects going on where there are upgrades. We got an email today about the Pleasant and Washington signalization project, which is a good example. The person was unaware and was complaining about the ability to take a left-hand turn onto Route 53, Washington Street, coming from the direction of Jackson Square. And that is something that's being addressed in that particular project. So some we have control over, some we don't, but there is cooperation. And Bridge Street, for instance, there's some temporary changes with the signalization going on there that the state did as part of the Fall River Bridge replacement traffic mitigation project. So we're having some ongoing discussions with the state. Some people would like to leave those changes in place. Even though the state viewed them as temporary, we're trying to convince them that in some cases those are a good trial and that they've worked well, and we might want to leave those in place, and the state's cooperating with us on that. I hope that answers the question. I don't know if I covered it, but I think
you did. It's very interesting. So depending upon who kind of owns the road, if it's a state or local, you decide, that's the site. What about a private project, a private property project like it's Liberty Industrial Park or the Union Point project?
Well, Libby is, it's a town road. It's not a private project. Now that is an interesting one because that is, that we got some help from the state on. And then the other end, which is the Pleasant Street side of Libby, that will be signalized, and that is part of the order of conditions and mitigation from the project that was permitted many couple decades ago at the top of Arbor Hill. So the developer, Bristol Brothers, is footing the cost of that and realigning that intersection, which benefits them, by the way, because they are creating a new entrance as part of that realignment of that intersection for the entrance to their property that runs into the quarry and actually runs all the way down to Derby Street and Hingham. So it's actually a three-way mix. Sometimes we have private mitigation money that goes into upgrading the intersections from developers. Sometimes we have the state do something that they control in the town. And by the way, an interesting project is the Washington Street, Broad Street. We will be putting new signals there also. And even though that you think is a state road, Route 53, the section from the Washington Street intersection down to the Braintree line is controlled by Weymouth and owned by Weymouth. It's not part of the state highway. So we own that intersection, but we did seek an earmark in the state budget process for a couple $100,000 that's going towards that. So it's a town project, but we're getting some money from the state on that. We're getting some money from a couple developers doing projects in the landing. We asked them to contribute, which they agreed. So we try to, stretch the dollar as far as we can to get creative to finance some of these upgrades.
So somebody made, Ed wrote in regarding the traffic signalization. What about like plowing the roads and the maintenance of the road? Is that depending again on whose domain area that falls into? They're responsible for maintaining, or
state plows the state road, we plow our roads.
Interesting. Wow. A little bit more complex than you may think just driving around town. Next question is from Mary Carney, who asked Mayor Hedlund, why is such a nice field as Legion being neglected by the maintenance department? We have a lot of positivity, but Mary's a little concerned about what's going on down at Legion. There was a designated nature area by the water area that has now grown to almost the whole park, except the field turf and by the driveway entrance area. I think I know what she means. The weeds have grown so tall that you can see them over the brick wall. It is so sad that after all the efforts everyone made to make the park so beautiful in recent years, it's become so overgrown. I would think this could and should be corrected. That park's only been open for what, 2 years?
I can't give her a definitive answer because what some people may perceive as weeds might not be weeds, but I know that the plan for that field was a natural wildflower growth area. There's a retention pond there, and it was supposed to grow in dense. As far as weeds, no, there's not supposed to be any weeds down there, and I'll take a look at that. And we have a maintenance contract that has been in place since before I took office with a private vendor. Most of the feedback I have gotten is that they are doing a good job. There were some areas that needed attention, but it was because of some irrigation issues. So we'll take a look at it, but I hope she's not confusing what is supposed to be happening with a natural setting area that isn't being cultivated, if you will, by the landscapers. So we'll take a look.
I thought it was interesting when they reopened that park. Everybody who grew up around here recalls that area where the pond was a grass field. Yeah. But it used to flood when it rained. It used to collect water pretty good.
And we'll be candid that I inherited that project. I think it was less than a year open, and we have learned some lessons from there and have worked with the vendor that maintains that site to address some of the issues. And like I say, we had some warranty issues, actually. Some species that died, it was under warranty from the contract. We had some irrigation issues, I think, that were warranted, that were part of the responsibility of the contract. The contractor that built it actually had control over some of those activities for a year. It was his responsibility to follow through for a year. So we're through that period. I think moving forward, I hope she's happy. So.
Well, it's a lot of positive things going on down there, but kind of a work in progress, it sounds like, on some levels.
Gets a lot of use, too, so
yeah.
You got to stay on top of that.
And it obviously looks fantastic compared to what it did 5 years ago. Hey, we want to remind everybody to keep those questions coming in to askmayorbob@gmail.com. Please, again, askmayorbob@gmail.com. My please must be working. We got a ton of questions, Bob. As you said, we're trying to get to as many.
We're going to set a
Here
record.
we go.
I think our record is what, Jim?
I think two and a half. You know, we get so many questions here. Some of them have talked about the jib jab. We're trying to cut down on the jib jab. Well, dear Mayor, now that I've heard you in the
But
planning...
he's not watching. The guy that was concerned about jib jab's not watching anymore, so.
And I've been stopped 5 or 6 times since we taped last. I already said this to the mayor. We've been encouraged to continue the jib jab, so it's a toss-up so far, it looks like. All right, dear Mayor, now that I've heard you and the planning director speak about the amount of used car lots, I now feel like I see them everywhere. There are more of them than coffee businesses in that town. That'd be a good trivia question, huh?
More than the coffee?
Yeah, there's more used car lots than coffee businesses, arguably, according to this woman's observations. So will you ever move forward on a ban of some sorts to diminish the amount of used car lots that we have? By the way, I like your shows very much. Estelle from South Weymouth. I don't mean to put you on the spot again, but you kind of gave us a quick number. Do you recall what that number was as far as used car lots in the town? You blew me away when you said it.
It blew me away when I found out.
Yeah.
We have 32 used car licenses active in the town right now.
Oh, man, oh, man.
And I think I said before in a previous show, by comparison, Hingham has 0. They have Lexus dealerships, we have used car lots, but...
Now, is there any truth we're considering changing the slogan for the town of Weymouth to "Come on down"?
No, but your friend, former selectman Greg Hagedorn, I recall, at a selectmen's meeting before our change in our charter, when they were reviewing a coffee shop, another drive-through application, he said that Weymouth should change its town seal to a coffee cup.
Thank you, Citizen Hagedorn.
What is the questioner's name?
So I think we'll get back to it, but I think the essential question is: so is there any?
No, what's her name?
Oh, it's Estelle from South Weymouth.
So Estelle asked the
ban.
question:
Yeah.
Do we have more used car lots than coffee shops? Definitively, I don't know, but I think we may. Well, maybe not if you count restaurants that serve coffee.
Sure.
But dedicated coffee shops. I'm going to guess we have more used car lots. Now, this is a situation I inherited, so. If you don't like used car lots, don't blame me. But we are, as part of our zoning changes that we've talked about, that you've read about, people hopefully are understanding and following and coming to some of the informational meetings, which we have a couple more scheduled. We are looking at our not only used car lot bylaw, but car storage. And one of the things that's happened is periodically the police department goes out to audit the used car lots to make sure that their inventory isn't exceeding what they're permitted for. The last time they went out, a whole bunch of them had more cars for sale than they're allowed to.
Oh, they
have
actually
on the
limit
lot.
the amount of cars. That's part of the permit,
based on the size of your lot.
Okay, geez, all right, yeah.
So they found that a whole bunch of them were out of compliance, and those entities then came to the building department to get their licenses upped. And in some cases, the building department was going to do that, and we put the brakes on that. And we said, no, we're going to have a moratorium on any new used car lots and any increase in capacity for existing used car lots until we get this ordinance cleaned up and work with the council to get it done. So that's where we're at with that. And I didn't like the concept of someone who's violating their permit then coming in and getting it upped. It's almost like you getting caught for speeding on the Mass Pike, and rather than you comply, the Mass Pike says, well, we're going to up the speed limit for you, so you're in compliance. So I didn't like that approach, but in some cases an increase might be warranted, but we're not going to grant any until we get through this process with the planning board, with the planning department, with the building department and with the council looking at the new ordinance.
Now, certainly the vehicle storage down at Union Point has been top of mind for a lot of the residents down there. Is there an actual...
Now, folks, we're not going to get through and set a record for questions.
Well, is there a cap?
Jim is going back to his pet personal issue.
It affects many people in South Weymouth, Mayor.
Go ahead.
And my question is, if you could respond, is there a cap on the amount of vehicles that can be stored down there, to the best of your knowledge?
It's by us, no, because 75% of the cars are in Rockland.
Is that their claim?
No, 75% of the cars right now are in Rockland. So there's an area that's delineated on where the storage can go, and I think it's 133 or something. I forget how many cars per acre, but they're limited in the acreage, so they can only fit so many. So yes, they're capped in that sense.
Okay, yeah. There you have it. But it is certainly a conversation point as we travel around town. I wonder if you get the same inquiries.
We have a new drinking game, folks. It's every time Jim Melody brings up the Volkswagens at Union Point.
So far, it's been twice. So we're all relatively sober over here. So far, we're relatively sober.
Jim, a little more than twice. We're going to audit that one, too.
Well, listen, Amy Perriello has a question for you, Mayor, and it's back closer to home as far as the school system's concerned. I was very happy to see that the Pingree School will be part of the Safer Routes to School program. Is there any chance the crosswalks on Park Avenue at Torrey Street could be addressed in the same way? Many high school students cross there. The speed limit on Park Avenue is 40 miles an hour, and most cars do not stop to let the children cross. It would be much safer if there was a flashing light that could be activated when the children are using the crosswalk. So, I'm not really sure what the Safer Routes to School program is. That a state program or?
It's federally funded, administered by the state. That was a grant we got. It took a lot of effort. The council this week passed some land takings and easements to get this done. Our most problematic school crossing would be Pingree, without a doubt. We look closely at the safety of all school crossings. The particular intersection, is it Amy? Sorry.
That's okay. I just put it away. It was Amy Perriello.
That Amy talks about is probably not the highest ranked, among the highest ranked ones. The likelihood, well, the short answer would be no. We would not be able to avail ourselves anytime soon of another grant for that. I'm not sure if that one would qualify anyway on our own as a town. We could make sure that, crosswalks and things. We really had our first rejection also of a grant application, which was we've already had one. We were going for a second Complete Streets grant that would allow us to do some enhanced crosswalk signalization. That wasn't one of the ones in the grant application. We had some ones that were ranked worse than that, but we were not successful in that. That's probably the first grant we haven't gotten in.
Yeah, you've been on a roll with those.
Since we have had a lot of success in the last year and a half. So we'll take a look at that one, but the short answer, no, nothing available at the moment from the state on that. But I do know that, working with the state, we just had new sidewalks put in down there. So there have been some enhancements down there. And if you go a little further down the street, it was a project I was involved in when I was in the Senate. We had no sidewalks on the Park Ave end on the other side of Pleasant, and that was still a state highway, and I was able to convince then Mass Highway Commissioner Matt Amarello, who later went on to the Big Dig, but when he was Mass Highway Commissioner, they were doing a Route 18 project, endless Route 18 project, but I went to him and asked him for some help with some sidewalks down there, and he actually did a contract addendum on the Route 18 project to fund the sidewalks that you see that are down on the other side of Park Ave towards Ralph Talbot, which gets a lot of use for school kids. So
sure.
There have been some improvements down there working with the state, but on that particular one, probably not going to see it anytime soon.
She mentions the speed limit's 40 miles an hour on that road. I thought, almost all the roads in town, it seems it's 30 miles an hour.
I'm not sure that it is 40 down there, but we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, that's considered a state highway, huh?
That one, yeah, that's actually old Route 228.
Oh, thank you, Mary Heinrichs.
We can look at that. I'll have Owen take a look at the speed limit there and see what we can do with the state. But that limit is controlled by the state.
Interesting. Well, we're still trying to achieve our lightning round record. Let's go right over to Bud Sarunian, who asked Mayor, and we've kind of spoken to this, but if you don't mind readdressing it, it seems to come up pretty regularly. Mayor, is there any hopes for FiOS to come into Weymouth? Who determines that? And thank you, Bud. I know it comes up pretty regularly.
We should just ask this question every show.
And I'm fully supportive of you, Bud, because Comcast is more of a bugaboo than Union Point will ever be for me.
So the answer is no. I've had a senior person from Verizon in here to talk about it. They are doing no expansion anywhere.
Bud.
Anywhere. And we're saddled, with a contract with Comcast. I am not happy with Comcast as much as you are not happy with Comcast, viewer. And Bud. They are operating under a 10-year contract.
Which just was renewed a couple Sue's last
signed
year?
in December of 15, just before I was sworn in January of 16 by the previous administration. And I know we've had this question asked multiple times.
Sure.
It's on social media. We get emails all the time on it.
Yeah.
And we actually had WETC's own Mary Heinrichs on here to answer it at one time, too.
Holy smokes.
So that model isn't working for Verizon anymore. It's not something they're pursuing. They're not investing in that infrastructure. The only hope we have, aside from any emerging technologies, and I'm not an expert on some of that stuff, but we did have someone who I went to high school with who's in the field.
Hey now.
And they're looking for
Benjamin Franklin?
They're looking for a couple of municipalities to do a pilot program that's only been done in some community out in Iowa. They get some venture capital money to do the infrastructure. I won't get into it, it's complicated, but they would need a population base bigger than Weymouth. And if you put Weymouth and Quincy together, that fits with what they're looking for. So I told them we would be happy to look at it if they can get Quincy on board, and he's having some discussions with Quincy. So stay tuned for that one, but it's kind of interesting. I hooked him up with our IT department. It's technology that's way over my head, Jim, but it made a lot of, it was intriguing, let's put it that way.
They say everybody under 30 isn't watching broadcast or cable TV anyway, so it may become more of a moot point as we move forward.
Except for this show, of course.
I certainly, I've never typed in, but I have a kind of an attachment to that, if you don't mind me asking. Do any of the towns ever talk about consolidating goods and services purchasing, or maybe common resources, like negotiating with that cable company, for instance? You kind of touched upon it.
Weymouth's done that in the past.
It is
being
being
part
done,
of that trash contract with Quincy and Braintree.
Oh, no kidding. When you guys all switched to Easy?
At some point, Weymouth pulled out. I don't know fully why, previous to me coming in, but there's been regionalization efforts. They seem to lag in New England as compared to other regions.
Oh, it is being done nationally.
We don't have a strong county government structure. That might be one of it. New England has more of a tradition of strong municipal government, and you got fiefdoms.
Yeah, it's definitely in boundaries.
People don't want to give up control. It took forever to get a regionalized dispatch center in Hingham for public safety with a group of communities, and they were operating under a state grant to get that done. It took forever. So it's a hard process to do that.
Yeah, it seems like
I talk all the time with Mayor
smart.
Koch and Mayor Sullivan about different ideas to do that.
Smart.
We're trying to do a regional animal control center, working with the county, and that's been very tough to work with the county on it. They don't bring a lot to the table. There'd be a lot of cost to the town.
Sure.
We didn't see a savings. And when you regionalize something, you want to see some savings.
The more you buy, the cheaper it gets. I mean, the primary rule of purchasing. We know Mike Parker mans the post for Weymouth, though, and he's doing a great job for us, for sure. Well, listen, old friend Jason Thayer has checked in once again, and Mayor Jason writes in, the town has never, at least in my generation, has looked better. I think that's a common thought. Ball fields, cleanups, overgrowth, et cetera. It all looks great. I'm curious what's up your sleeve next. What can we look forward to? Thanks for everything. Proud to support a mayor that cares and follows through, making Weymouth great again. Thank you, Jay.
What are we doing next? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we're following through on the field.
Well, you're on the cover of the Ledger with the Libby development, right? That sounds exciting.
We'll see level completed, substantially completed this fall for use. Spring on Libby, Weston Park groundbreaking soon. We're working out a lot of issues to get the library project underway from a financing standpoint. That's frustrating, dealing with the parameters that the state puts us under on that.
Where was that boat ramp you were in the paper the other day? Was it a boat ramp, or was it down by Esker Park? Was there something? Was there a new park? I didn't know the location.
We've talked about that. The so-called Durante property, which would be another piece in the Back River Trail, that's ongoing. We're getting the T to clean that site up before we take control. Obviously, the school building project, a lot of effort there. Ongoing efforts to coordinate different functions with the school department, to produce some savings. People talk about revenue for the schools. It's just as important to manage the dollars wisely for the schools, to see that the resources get into the classroom. We're making a lot of headway there, so lots of stuff. And thank you for the kind words, and I understand that the gentleman who wrote that just had a loss in his family, so we offer him our condolences.
Yeah, we heard that Jason's dad just passed away. All the best to the Thayer family, needless to say. Hey, we want to remind everybody to send those questions to askmayorbob@gmail.com. Once again, askmayorbob@gmail.com. We're coming to the end, Bob, of another exciting episode of Ask the Mayor.
I'm not sure we broke the record, Jim.
We have to be pretty close. I have to guess.
Squeeze one more.
See if we can do it. Here we go. From Eric St. Jacques. Dear Mayor, I think it's St. Jacques. Jacques is a Jack, so it could be Billy Jags, could be the Jags. Dear Mayor, I'm wondering if there are any updates you can share on the Columbian Square work that was being discussed. Specifically, I'm inquiring about the potential traffic light or rotary and also the green space and public gathering area study that were being done. Again, thanks for all the hard work and community improvements.
How much time we got? All right, so real quick, a lot of progress there. We had a meeting with the merchants 2 nights ago, went well. There were 3 options put forward. A rotary does not work, period. The consulting firm that we have working on this Green International has been done a phenomenal job, elevated my confidence level that we can actually do something there
fantastic.
That will help.
Yeah.
We had a working group made up of Councilor Smart, merchants, town officials that went through some of the options. As a result of that effort, they came up with a 4th option. All the options were presented to the merchants the other day. There was the 4th option that was kind of that collaboration is the one that everyone seems to gravitate to. I would say that it was near unanimous kind of support for this, which I was kind of surprised. We'll be making a presentation in September to Pond Plain, open to the public for anyone that's interested in this. We'll be presenting to the town council. I would say that I'm 90% confident that we have something that can work. We have one little aspect of the plan that our traffic engineer, Owen McDonald, has some concerns with and wants to kind of go through in more detail with the consultants. If we can kind of address that, I think we're going to have something that moves forward, not just in something that makes sense from a traffic standpoint and traffic management standpoint, but all the other improvements that will come along with this. To the square, sidewalk improvements, accessibility to the parking lot, bicycle access, pedestrian safety, pedestrian access. It'll be a great thing for and great public investment for Columbian Square. And it is money that in some cases is already set aside and in some cases will be on LSTAR through the MEPA process to contribute to. So it'll be a very cost-effective project too.
The square looks great. That outdoor concert series that the library, I think it's the library, puts on has been fantastic. And if you haven't been to the Cameo, have you been to the Cameo since they refurbished it?
Cameo was actually, management was part of the meeting the other night too. We appreciate their involvement.
It looks fantastic. You got to get to the Cameo if you haven't been. We want to thank everybody once again for tuning in to Ask the Mayor. Once again, please keep the questions coming in to askmayorbob@gmail.com. We may not have broken the record, but I think we did quite a nice job getting through these questions, Mayor. Thanks again for all your feedback.
And stay tuned for what, Jim?
And stay tuned for The Movie Loft. You tell us about that mug in 7 seconds?
Next show.
Okay, here we go. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great summer.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.